Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm going to be taking a look at this right here. The high-grade RX 178 Gundam Mk-II in the Titans colors from Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. I have done the standard version of this before if you want to check that out. Once again today this is a color variant, and because it is build miss, it means I can kind of take a look at some kits that usually wouldn't get a full review in their own right. This is build number 27 of 50, I think? And if you do want one of these of your own, you can get yours exactly where I got mine, and that is through those awesome people over at Bai. So let's open it up and check it out. Alright, so sliding right on into the unboxing. I'm not exactly sure what happened to this box right here. It's been through it, definitely. There's a few dents here and there. It's still got a little bit of a kind of cling film wrap around it. As far as I know, it did not come this way. I think I just poorly stored it. Don't stack your gunpla in big towers. It doesn't eventually work out. You should stack them maybe on their side, across the way on some shelves. The whole Japanese motai nai concept and all of that. Anyway, finally getting it out of its plastic confines. There is the box art. Very, very nice. We've got the Titans Gundam Mk-II in the foreground, and in the background, it looks like we've got a little bit of a high-zac going on there too. Onto the sides of the box, and we've got some images of what this kit will look like out of box. This is 2015, so it is pre-translation, but from what I'm seeing on the box, it is post-revive. Well, because the Mk-II is a revive kit, so it should be a nice, simple, but effective build. That's what we get inside of the box, so a decent little layout of parts. And on the side then is just some information about Zeta Gundam as well as the mobile suit itself. Alright, on opening up the box, it seems like the impact in the top has had no effect on the plastic, so we've 1, 2, 3 bags of runners and the manual, so pretty much average for a high-grade kit. The manual is the usual UC style, so we've got all of the information on the mobile suit itself on the front, some images of what to expect from the kit once it is finished. All I can say is that the high-grade Mk-II is quite the kit. The blue plastic may mark up a little bit more than white plastic. It tends to be a little bit more difficult to clean up. More information on all of the equipment in here. So we've got a beam rifle, beam sabers, bazooka, and 7 runners, actually 8 runners inside the box, but some of them are actually split up into tiny, tiny little runners. We've got beam sabers and revive style polycaps too. So there is the layout of all the runners once they're out of the box, and this is what we get inside. One thing that is always pretty cool about the Titans colors is instead of having your typical Gundam white, you do have this navy blue, but again, this can be quite inclined to mark up a little bit while cutting it out. The inner frame in here almost has a little bit of a purpley hue, which is something we see a lot on Gundam Mk-IIs. Some solid black in here too, which is always a nice change in gunpla. And some details in yellow, red, and a clear part for the eyes. So the eyes are not color separated in here, so it means we're going to be popping on the sticker. Speaking of stickers, not too bad. It's mainly just lenses for the eyes, head cameras, and we do have a couple of silvered ones, which I'm assuming are for if you want to pop them in the eyes and paint the black around the eyes yourself so you can keep them clear. We've got some unit markings in here, so 1, 2, and 3 if you do want to grab 3 of these kits. And for build miss, I am using a little bit of a cut down selection of tools, so I'm going in with the God Hand, Racer glass file for any troublesome nubs, and a standard metal file as well. Mainly I use this for getting rid of the safety flags up in the V-fin. So first up in here, we've got the leg, and again, this is pretty much exactly the same as the, well, physically it's exactly the same as the standard high-grade Mk-II. This is just now in a little bit of a color swap towards those Titans colors. It's a very nice kit, some limitations to its articulation. For example, you don't have any articulation in the foot itself, but overall what you do get out of it is very solid and very smooth. In the usual kind of revive sort of way, you build this up as a bunch of smaller kind of units. First, that's the ankle, upper leg, lower leg, knee, and then in the end you just attach them all together. So pop, 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 and it's done pretty quickly. Of course, this color of plastic does nub up quite a bit, so that's why I do recommend using a glass file like the Racer here by Gum Primer. For example, there's a bit of a just double snip right there, whereas I did use the Racer on that one right there, and it does clean them up a whole lot nicer than a single snip, and I didn't even try that hard, just a quick rub-a-dub-dub. So next up, moving on to the arm. First off, you build the shoulder. We've got some nice yellow color separation in there. Then you build up the joint of the arm, a nice double jointed bend in the elbow, armor it up, and then basically it's just popping on the hand, followed by the shoulder. And that right there is what you get. As for the articulation, the arm moves inside of the shoulder, ball jointed into the body, rotation up top, bend at the elbow, and your standard kind of wrist. Overall, simple but effective. Moving on down to the waist, we start off with the central unit. We've got the old school ball ab crunch that does nothing. Butt flap attaches on with this nice opening attachment point in here. The hips in here are those tilting side to side type. Locking the front skirts in, you can separate them on the runner like so. Finishes off with some side skirts then with the classic Revive style attachment. And there we go, skirting complete. Moving on up to the torso now, we've got a horizontal ab crunch which attaches in just like that from the back. Polycap shoulders are attached in like so, so they point up the way as opposed to back and forward. They're up and down movement, then it all closes up. Waist segment just attaches in, peg. Plastic neck in here, not a polycap. That right there is what it looks like attached in, a bit of movement forward and back. Cockpit hatch in red, chest vents in yellow, finished off with these cool shoulder joint covers that look like that. Lastly then we do have some stickers for in on these little sections. I'm going to do that off camera, and overall pretty nice. We've got two different kind of backpack adapters back there. Overall pretty cool. So next up in here, we've got the head. It's okay overall. We've got one of those big seam lines up the side, a bunch of stickers for the rear head camera, the eyes, and the front head camera. And as for the actual build, you throw the eyes. These are clear, so you can actually color around them if you want to keep the clearness in them. They pop onto the red beard section, pop on the muzzle, throw on the eye sticker, throw it into the back of the head, front of the head, Gundam Mohawk, V-fin, and a little bit of a red section in the middle. Once again, that right there is what you get when it is complete. So onto the final assembly then, and we've got the Gunderpants right here. Throw a peg into the leg, so this is the standard kind of Revive format. So most of these kits, all the parts are compatible with each other, even down to the kind of waist joint, which was definitely a very nice era for Gundam model kits. This one's particularly nice. It's solid, designed really well. Everything pops together nicely. It's ball joints into cups for the shoulders. We do have a 2-point backpack adapter, but a kind of sliding mechanism for this actual backpack. So even though this doesn't attach on the normal way, so it won't be compatible with other Revive era high grade kits, you can actually put the backpacks from those said kits onto this kit right here. And there we go. That is it, complete. Looking nice, cool, and very Titansy. So jumping on into the aesthetics first as usual, and that right there is what the high-grade Gundam Mk-II in the Titans colors looks like out of box, just snapped together. I did panline the muzzle again. I always do this because it is harder to do later on. You'd have to disassemble it a little bit, but besides that, everything is the same. Safety flags were filed off, but this is what you're gonna get out of the box. Again, there's just something about the Gundam Mk-II. Every kit I've built of it, but I haven't built the perfect grade, mind you, I will mention that, but the high grade as well as the master grade have been absolutely fantastic builds. They always just work out perfectly. They may be a little bit older tech-wise than some kits are nowadays, but they just end up solid, beautiful, no matter if you go for the Yugo colors or the Titans colors. Oh yeah, there's also the real grade as well. That was an early real grade and still stands the test of time. There's just some magic to the Gundam Mk-II. There it is side by side with the original art, and as you can see, from what I'm seeing right here, this is pretty much 100% color separated, especially when it comes to the front. Now we are missing some red on the inner thrusters around back, but when it does come to the overall color, very, very nice. Of course, we've kind of lost the old school 80s stylistic edge, but that's kind of the way high grades look. This is the more modern, squared off, typical Gundam look. Zooming on into the head, and the silhouette here is pretty much perfect. The overall sculpt and everything looking very, very nice. There is no color separation or layering in anything like the vents on the side of the head, so it's a bit old school. The eyes are stickers, but they catch the light decently enough. And Bandai have definitely captured that really awesome Gundam Mk-II glare that just makes it look a little bit more intimidating than the OG Gundam. Moving down to the chest now, and the color separation is quite nice again. All the venting, the clavicle armor in yellow, cockpit in red, and pretty much the only thing that requires stickers right here is the lenses in those little sensors in the chest. Besides that, looking great. Lacking in color somewhat around in the backpack. The inside of the thrusters are meant to be in a red, but it's a simple enough thing to paint in yourself, and it is around back, so you won't be seeing it most of the time. The arms are quite decent, but this is definitely where I see the general issues that you do get with darker plastics. The marking we're getting on here is quite ridiculous, especially on this arm right here that I did not use a glass file on. Look at the marking up on the black section there. So a lot of the various different kind of nubs and mold lines and whatnot show up a lot in this. You know, in reality, it's a small kit, so you're not going to see it as much as you are right here, but worth noting that it does nub up a lot. We've got some very nice yellow color separation in the upper shoulder armor. The only hands in here, sadly, are standard holding hands. There's no options in here, and this is a much lighter kind of inner frame plastic than we would see on general kits, so getting a hand that will match would be nigh on impossible. You definitely have to get painting. The skirting armor here is extremely plain. It's just single layer, so that means there is no gray on the underside to make it look a little bit more armored up. The vents and all of that stuff there is just kind of molded in, and it's pretty plain around back as well. Accurate, yet plain at the same time. Like a lot of Gundam kits, the legs are definitely the nicest aspect on here. We've got some nice angles. The armor overall is sculpted quite nicely, and there's some nice details and color separated bits here and there. We've got some nice piping molded into the rear of the knee joints. Some simple pistons molded into the ankles. As you can see, they don't move or have any kind of functionality. They're just molded in there. And the yellow vents are color separated on the sides of the legs. Overall, pretty good looking. Finally, now jumping on to the size comparison, and there it is beside two average size Gundams, because it is an average size Gundam. On the left, we've got the RX-78-2, and on the right, we've got the Yugo colored version of this particular kit. So this one and this one are exactly the same. It is just, well, whatever color you like, whether you like the Yugo or the Titans. Grabbing a couple of random high-grade kits off the shelf, there is the high-grade G-Self, the high-grade Gundam Barbatos, and the high-grade Gundam Ariel. So jumping on into the accessories, and here's absolutely everything that comes with the Gundam Mk-II, and you get quite a bit. What we get in here is a pair of beam sabers, a bazooka, a beam rifle, shield, 2 adapters for using with the shield, that head Vulcan system thingamajigger, as well as some marking decals. Actually, you get so much stuff in here that it's a little bit on the disappointing side. We don't get any kind of alternate hands at all. Otherwise, nice spread. First up in here, we've got an average pair of beam sabers with pink beams. I guess the Titans didn't like square handles, so they built their Gundam with rectangular, or should I say, square handles. Attaching them is simply just pop them on into the hand like so for the Gundam Mk-II, holding onto them, and when they're not in use, you can just pull off the handle, and these then can attach onto the backpack into this little section on a peg, just like so. Next up in here, we've got the bazooka, and these are very nicely designed. It is all in one color, but the actual molded detail on here is nice, as well as the kind of shade of gray this is in. We've got a section for popping it up onto the shoulder. The handle can swing back and forth like so for easy posing. It can be popped in the hand, but I'm not going to do that. It's buildmas. So I'm just going to set this up front on the shelf. So when it isn't actually equipped and not in use, you can open this little segment on the back right here and attach the bazooka in just like that for storage, and it holds on decently well. Next up is the beam rifle. Again, very nice mold of this weapon, just like the other one. We do have a sticker for the sight right here, some nice detailing on it. There is no actual moving parts. Wait a minute, we might have one. Yeah, we do have a moving side handle right here. You can't actually remove the E-cap down here, and the ones that are on the back of the shield are in place, so simple. It attaches into the hand in the usual kind of sandwich style way, and then the beam rifle just pops on in just like so. And that right there is pretty much what it looks like attached on. Again, a little bit loose in the shoulder here. I haven't had that issue with my other kit, but I find this tends to be the case sometimes with polycaps. Some kits are fine, then some kits are just a little bit wonky. Next up in here, we've got the shield. Again, nice color separation, including that red section there. This is around back. This is one of the coolest, simplest little gimmicks ever. It can, well, close up, but it just closes like that by attaching that peg into the visor like so. So you can have the compact version, and extending it, you just pop it into this one down at that end. It's just simple, effective. Also, another thing I do like here, this little attachment for attaching the shield on. You have the choice of one that goes into the back of the arm, whoops, it fell, or one that is a simple peg like that. So that's kind of cool, because usually these are a combination in some kits, so you've got a lot of pegs sticking out all over the place. So you can choose one or the other. This one puts it onto the side of the arm, so that's exactly what I'm going to go for. The other one will put it onto the rear of the arm. So it just attaches on like so. I'm looking for the collapsed stored version, and then that just attaches onto the back of the arm just like that. And we do have one little accessory in here, which is kind of a cool addition, which is this right here. The actual Gundam Mk-II does not have head Vulcans like your standard Gundam. So that does mean that this is just a kind of additional unit that can be popped on to give it some extra functionality, including a head Vulcan. So that's what that does. It pops on, looks like so, a little bit of a kind of head brace looking thing, and that is pretty much it for the accessories. So next up, jumping on into the articulation right here, and the weird thing is this is a revive kit, so it does have your bouncy polycaps, but still there's something about these kits that stays relatively solid. This arm is not solid at all. Just give that a squeeze in case it's not. Yeah, that was it. It's still a little bit on the loose side, but it just wasn't squeezed particularly into place. Anyway, usual pose time. So getting into the usual pose, and for the most part it was okay. I lost a side skirt, and then the whole upper body popped off because I noticed a weird thing about it. There's no rotation at the waist at all. Besides that, it's fairly average for an older high grade. Not going to do anything outstanding, but at the same time it's going to look nice in some poses. Anyway, as for what did happen, around in the backpack, this little segment here just clashes. This and the front skirting with the rotation, which blocks it from going around and then just makes it pop off the ball. I'm guessing that may not be the case when this leg is down. You can still kind of rotate. No, it's locked to only rotate there. So yeah, bog standard articulation, nothing too incredible, but not terrible either. So anyway, that right there is it for the review of the high-grade Gundam Mk-II Titan's color. This right here is X Silver tier, which is exactly the same as the gold tier the standard Gundam Mk-II would have gotten, by the way. It's just I've moved everything kind of down a notch to make room for brand new, better kits. Anyway, this is a very nice revive kit overall. The only real down point with this one compared to the other version is the fact that it marks a lot more and a lot of the imperfections in the plastic show up more in darker plastic than white plastic. But still, exactly the same awesome, great revive kit. We got 3 points for the aesthetics because it does look absolutely beautiful, missing some colors here and there and doesn't have many modern features like layered parts, but otherwise fantastic for the time. Articulation is probably its worst aspect. It's great in general, but we do have limitations at the knees, the ankles, the abs, pretty much everywhere, kind of. But overall, it's nice and clunky like a Mk-II should be. When it comes to the accessories, extremely nice spread in here, pretty much all you'd want except for a couple of expressive hands. If it had those, that would have pushed it probably to the gold tier mark, but overall, nice setup. When it does come to the build, this is a revive style build, but it's a revive style build done perfectly. Again, I will underline the fact that this marks up a lot, so I do highly recommend a glass file for cleaning it up. I used that only on some of the knobs. For this video, I did double snip pretty much everything, so again, you will get marks, and they can be hard to clean up later if you don't approach them the right way the first time. Anyway, yeah, that's it. Nice kit. If you want a Mk-II, the high grade is always a very nice choice. Anyway, if you want one of your own, I got mine through buy, link in the description. Come back again tomorrow for another build for Buildmas, and I'll see you then. As always, this video right here and every single video I make would not be possible without each and every one of you guys who watches this video. And special thanks at the end of this video right here to those who support on the channel memberships as well as over on Patreon, including Caleb Engelhart, Joe, OG59061, Scotty Thomas, and Simon.